Hey guys, Kid here of Burn One with the Shadowverse Evolve channel, bringing you a quick recap on the Bushiroad English Summer Conference that just happened the other night. There was a lot of news for all their TCGs, but specifically we were going to be looking at the Shadowverse Evolve news. They had a lot of stuff pertaining to the competitive side of the game, as well as some new product coming out. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. If you haven't seen this before, this is how you end up making it to the World Finals in Tokyo. This is the track you'll be taking. You'll be competing at shop qualifiers locally to win a spot to go to a regional qualifier. And from there, if you win that, you get to move on to world finals there to compete to become the world champion. I'm really excited to jump into the competitive scene of Shadowverse Evolve and hopefully make my way to worlds myself. And good luck to all of you out there who will be competing, because I know it's going to be a tough one. Next, they did show off some of the promos we'll be receiving for entering into the World Invitational. So at the shop qualifier level, we'll be getting an Angelic Snipe with the alternate art. Regional qualifiers will be receiving a Demonic Strike with an alternate art. So these two cards I'm not 100% sure on, but I do believe these are alternate arts that are exclusive to the English version of the game, which is really exciting that they're doing special things just for the English release of the game. So I'm very excited to go to all these events and hopefully collect them myself. Next, they did announce Booster Set 3, Flame of Leviathan. They didn't give us a date, but based on how the booster sets have been releasing, we're kind of expecting around March of next year to be the release date. But that also depends on how they handle some of the other products they've announced. And depending on how they do that, we can see this. I believe March next year is like the solid date to expect it, but there's a chance it could become sooner or come out sooner than expected. Next, they have an exclusive Nijisanji EN collaboration for Booster Set 3, specifically with Mila Parfait. If you follow the Japanese version or know about it, the Japanese version of the game did have some HoloLive collaborations with a few different HoloLive VTubers. Looks like for the English version of the game, we're going to get an exclusive collaboration with Nijisanji EN. I'm really excited to actually collect Mila Parfait cards because she's one of the few VTubers that I do watch videos and clips from on occasion. So I'm excited to collect those cards and get into it. They did show off a art for a card, but they didn't say what card it was. If you're interested in that, you can go ahead and look it up on the Bushiroad channel itself. Otherwise, Monday with Dean and I, when we do our podcast, we'll be showing off everything and going over all the news that happened. So make sure to check us out there next Monday. Next, they announced Uma Musume. This is their crossover set 1, Pretty Derby here. This is a really big thing for the game. I know some people were not sure if we're going to get this or not in English, and some people I know didn't want this in English at all due to how meta defining this set became in Japan. It was very broken on release. But I'm really excited to get a hold of these cards, and hopefully this opens up the game even to a wider audience as we get more collaborative sets, because I do know there's like a Code Geass set down the line, or at least card collaboration there. So we'll be able to at least get those as well, hopefully in the future. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other cool collaborations coming our way. One thing to note, like I said, this set was very oppressive in the Japanese meta. And so because of that, right out of the gates, before we even get Booster Set 2, we already have a restriction list specifically for Uma Musume. So in this case, if you're using the Uma Musume deck, which is if you're not aware, there is a special craft within this set when you get it. All cards that have the Uma Musume trait can be put into one deck as its own craft. So like a Havencraft card and Swordcraft card can be in the same deck as long as it has the same Uma Musume trait. And as long as you fulfill that condition, those cards can be played together. Specifically, that deck in Japan was incredibly oppressive and super powerful. I believe the regionals at that time in Japan were literally top 8, was 8 out of 8 Uma Musume decks. Because of that, we're getting a restriction before the set is even out, which I think is a good thing. These are just the two cards they have restricted here are the consistency cards that made the set even more powerful than it is. Instead of being able to play 3, you're only allowed to play 1 of each in your deck, which I think is a good way to start off to test the waters of how to restrict the deck and everything like that. I'm not familiar right now if in Japan they have any restrictions to this craft at all. But I do know they didn't get out of the Uma Musume hell essentially until multiple sets later, when the meta kind of redefined itself, and now it's more of a wider spread of crafts and different types of decks. But for quite a while, Uma Musume was the demon of the format that everyone kind of hated if they really loved playing Shadowverse Evolve. So one other thing that I'm really excited to look forward to is how the meta will be different compared to Japan, because they played without a restriction list, where we are going to deal with a restriction on the card choices we can have there. So it'll be interesting to see if horses do make it back to the top and define that period of time in the meta like Japan, or if we're going to find something different, because there's going to be a little bit more breathing room for all the other crafts to do their thing. But yeah, that kind of wraps up most of the major news for the Bushiroad Summer Conference. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're interested in hearing more about the news and everything in the community, we do have a podcast that Dean and I just started. The first pilot episode looks like it's doing completely well, so we're going to continue doing it until the community hates it, basically. So make sure to come back. I think Monday we're going to do the recording, and then Tuesday it should be out, if not Monday night. Come back here to the channel, where Dean and I will be discussing all the news and anything going on this past weekend for Shadowverse Evolve, especially at some of our locals, because I'll be competing at multiple locals this weekend. So I'll be having a lot of fun when we do the podcast, talking about my experience at all these different events. Other than that, I hope to see you guys in the next video. Later.